to give your customers network the consistent level of security across the entire infrastructure. So regardless of where the users are, however they join, with FortiSASE, we can achieve the same level of security and all that from a single pane of glass. And everything is wrapped around with the zero trust architecture. Today, we are going to have a look at how that works and what we can achieve with it. So in this slide, you can see it's a bit busy. We can start looking at it from the left side. You can see all the sources, so remote users. Thin edge is basically the use case we have for small branches. Could be a pop-up branch, something that's inside a retail store or inside a you know um, inside a shopping complex where you want to just pop that up, bring the device in, and then connect to FortiSASE. And then you have your branch campus level ones and factory or anything. So basically, anywhere or however you connect, we will be able to give you the same level of security, right? So it's going through the enforcement points, FortiSASE, SD-WAN, and then when you come out of the other side, you get all these other features like secure web gateway, firewall as a service, CASB, digital experience management, remote browser isolation, ZTNA, SD-WAN, all that. And just to bring, I mean, we have an ever expanding footprint of SASE POPs. So recently, over the last 2 months, we've actually stood up 2 new POPs, one in Perth and also one in Auckland. So these are for the Australian and New Zealand region. These are the POPs that we currently have. The Sydney POP, which is in red, is a fully Fortinet owned POP, so a full Forti stack. And the other POPs that are in blue dots are all part of public cloud, Google Public Cloud or AWS. Also, a little bit about the data restrictions that apply. Now, predominantly, there are 3 ways that we use to connect to the SASE POP, either as a single user from a single user license you see on the right side, or as a thin edge. This is that pop-up branch or the small moving branch that we were discussing just now. And then the third one is branch on-ramp. So every time you connect as a user, so per user, you get 250 gigabytes of data transfer per year. Right? This is the only way we are limiting it. There is not going to be any bandwidth limit for a user. The same applies for the thin edge use case, which could be via Forti access point, or we have these other devices that are purpose built for SASE called Forti branch SASE, or you could use a Forti extender. Whenever you connect from one of these as the thin edge use case, you will add 500 gigabytes of data per year per device, right? Again, no bandwidth limitation, just the limitation on the usage. And if you were to exhaust this usage for some reason, you will get a notification, I think when you reach about 80%, and then you can keep adding more data into the bucket, right? And then the last one is the branch on-ramp. So this is where you have thick branches, campus level branches, which can connect to SASE either via a FortiGate or any other device that can terminate an IPsec tunnel. Now, this is the one where we shift a little bit, right? So while the other ones didn't have any bandwidth limitations, this one, the branch on-ramp, has a bandwidth limitation, which is 1 gigabits per second of max throughput, depending on the license, right? So it will add a data transfer limit, which is 4,000 terabytes. So it's a pretty big data limit, right? But the only thing that to be mindful of in this case with the branch on-ramp, there will be a 1 gigabit per second bandwidth limit. So just to clarify all this so that you have no questions going forward. I can start from the demo next, right? So, okay, so let's just first go into the SASE interface. Hope you guys can all see my screen. We can start with the dashboards, right? So when you log into the SASE interface, this is the first page that you land with. It's going to give you some important statistics. Let me expand this, maximize this. So you get a few widgets, which are of course editable. Quite a lot of widgets you can pick and choose from. You get some quick stats like the endpoints that are connected, the edge devices, user connection monitor. One of the main things that I want to highlight here is this remote user. So when you want to onboard a new user into the FortiSASE environment, you go click on the onboard users, and then you get presented with this page. So um, you can choose how you want to onboard. So if it's pre-configured installer that you want to download onto that endpoint, or if you want to, you can actually send an email to that end user, so that the end user will get the invitation link to FortiSASE with the link to download the Forti client, which is the endpoint. And we support all the major OSs: Android, iOS, Linux, Mac, and Windows. Moving on, we've got in the dashboards, we have the security dashboard and the private access. So you can actually add any of the dashboards and customize it however you want, right? And after this, we've got some monitors that's going to give you some live statistics of what's happening in the infrastructure. And I mean, if you are familiar with any of the FortiOS, FortiGate interfaces, then you will find it that it's very easy to navigate through the FortiSASE interface as well. Yeah, so FortiView sources, destinations, and a couple of other things. So going on to operations. Now, while the monitoring section gave you a quick view or live statistics of the traffic, the operations actually gives you the live statistics of the underlying infrastructure. So the first thing that we see here is the asset map, right? So it shows you where your devices are connected. Let's give it a second to load. Where is this? Well, live demos.
Oh, sorry. We can always come back to that one if you want.
Yeah,
That's okay.
exactly.
No trouble.
Just move on. So that's the digital experience monitoring part. That's going to show you all the SaaS monitoring. Let me log in again to, I think, yeah. Let me just log out and log back to see if that's going to solve this issue.
Yeah, that's all good, Panduka. But certainly what we're seeing so far is obviously it's pretty comprehensive metrics as soon as people do log into the platform and actually see those key data and details that they need to see.
Correct. Okay. Yeah, I think that could have been the issue very well. Just give me a quick second. Let me find out.
No trouble at all. Just a reminder to everyone who's watching while Panduka just logs back in again. If you have any questions, please, we're more than happy to answer them as we go along. Just submit them in the audience chat on the right-hand side and we'll get to them as soon as we can.
Yeah, so there you go. I'm getting my multi-factor authentication in order.
Excellent. Very secure. That's good to see.
Yes. All right. Yeah, it'll give you a good experience of how and what you see when you log in. So you go into cloud services, go into FortiSASE. That's going to launch the SASE interface, right? So give it a second to load. Oh, well, until that loads, I can actually take you through what the Forti client installation looks like. at the endpoint. So this is after you have received the invitation to join FortiSASE. You will download the Forti client, and then once you enter the invitation link, you will get an update pushed to the endpoint, right? So then it will, once it's all settled, this is what your endpoint is going to look like. So you can see all the information about the endpoint, and these are all the zero trust tags that apply to this endpoint. We'll talk about that in a bit more detail when we go into the demo. And this is where you see how the Forti client is managed by the EMS, Endpoint Management System, which is attached to the SASE at backend, and then the remote access connection. So this is basically the connection that you get that you do from the endpoint all the way to the SASE POP. So you can of course disable this option to connect or disconnect depending on how you want to run it with the end users. Oops. And then the ZTNA destination. So these are all the destinations that are hosted behind corporate firewall, the SPA, we call it secure private access. You know, as you go on with your work, usually, of course, you have most of the work done via the internet with SaaS applications and whatnot. There will always be some applications that are hosted behind your corporate firewall, and this is how you access those applications. And there's also a vulnerability scan. All right, so we are back. Let's look at the operations. Give it one more chance to see if it's going to load. There we go. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that solved the problem. So yeah, you can see how your infrastructure is connected inside FortiSASE. So as we see, there are 3 POPs that we are connected to, one in Sydney, one in Perth, and one in Singapore. And there are a few other edge devices, the pop-up branches that I was talking about, right? So that's Hamad's one. And if you go to digital experience monitoring, we'll see all the SaaS applications we are monitoring. There we go. These are all the SaaS applications that we're monitoring to see how they are performing from the Fortinet FortiSASE POP to that SaaS application edge, right? So we are only having 3 here, but you can very well go and add any of these applications that's on the list. You can also add any custom applications that you wish to add there, right? Moving on, a couple of other things like the endpoints that are connected. I'll give you a quick overview of all the endpoints. So where am I? That's me. As you know, I have a bit of a love for James Bond movies, and I decided to name my endpoint as Oddjob after Goldfinger. And you see the connected users. So that's me. A few other users. Yeah, and then this is the other one, the important bit, the edge devices. So these are the other devices, the FortiGates, the APs, or the extenders that are currently connected to the infrastructure. The idea is you can walk into any of these branches, and while the extender is giving you the wireless access, you just connect your laptop or whatever, your phone or anything, into that SSID, and then all your traffic will be transmitted and inspected and secured through FortiSASE. So that's the idea with these thin branch or edge devices. What are the other things? Yeah, so if we go quick view on the traffic logs and the security logs. We're not going to spend too much time here because we're going to have a look at these in a bit more detail when we go through when we're doing the other bits in the demo. And also the networking side, the DNS configuration, geofencing, and whatnot. And there's also the security. So this is where you will spend most of your time after everything has settled, after all the underlay work has been done. So this is where you configure the security policies, your proxy policies, your ZTNA policies, and everything. So This, I'll take this policy, for example. That's the policy where all my demo traffic is going through, right? So you have a name, scope, whether it's going to be all agent devices or only the ones that I'm specifying. And I've added a few security posture tags. I've segregated myself with the users because all our SEs are using this instance. So I make sure that the policies I have only affect the endpoint that I'm using, right? Otherwise, it's going to create a problem for everybody else. And the profile group, the destinations, and the schedule, action status, and most importantly, logging whether only security events or all sessions. Same goes for the proxy policies and also the security profiles that we have. So again, if you're familiar with the FortiGate, I'm going to tell you this pretty much the same way of working with the FortiGate. We have the policies that are attaching the security profiles and then doing the inspection through them. Endpoint management. This is another very important place. Apart from the endpoint profile, this is where we configure the ZTNA tags, right? So you have the tags that you create, and then you attach those tags into the rules, right? Let's say if we take this one, compliant. So basically, what does that tag signify? What does that tag mean? What is it? What does it mean to have your endpoint be compliant? You see that tag here, zero trust tag compliant. So in order to have this tag at your endpoint, you have to satisfy two rules. One, uh, the AV software should be installed and running, and then two, Windows Security Firewall should be enabled. So that's basically what it does. As you know, with Zero Trust Network Access, what we do is, apart from giving you access, we keep monitoring the posture, the security posture of your endpoint. So let's quickly get into a few of the activities. So I've got a few shortcuts here just to show you how the web filtering it works. So let's say gambling. All right, we've blocked it. So what does it give you? So it's blocked because it's put in the category of gambling, and that's a URL, and that's my username and the group name. All right, let's have a look at why that is being blocked and how that's been configured. And another one is abc.net. That's been blocked by the web filter, but it's been blocked by a URL filter, a local URL filter block. And then BBC, just one more. So now that I have allowed, right? So why is abc.net blocked while BBC is allowed? Because they are both in the media group, right? So let's quickly go have a look at the security profiles I've put there. So that's the, I've got two security profiles just to show you here. The demo profile group. Right, we go have a look at the web filter, and then we see gambling that is blocked. Right, so any site that falls into this category. These categories are defined by FortiGuard, which is our intelligence organization that is keeping all the security intelligence up to date and provide all that intelligence to FortiSASE, FortiGates, or any other Fortinet devices, right? And also, there is a local URL filter that I have used to block abc.net.au, even though I have enabled. So news and media, the category is allowed, so that's why BBC can work. But I have overridden that with a local rule saying manually, like block abc.net.au. So that's why those ones are getting blocked. Let's go have a look at a little bit of DLP. Right. So this is the DLP test proofing site that we use. The DLP tag that we've created for this demo is called, we have two words, programming tips. So anything that you type that contains programming, the two words programming tips, will get blocked. So try to post it. There you go. That got blocked. And we go back to DLP test, do a HTTPS. Gets blocked again, right? And we try to upload something. I've got the DLP test file. Submit, yeah, gets blocked again. So if we go scroll all the way to the bottom, we can see transfer attempt has been blocked because it appears to contain sensitive data, right? So why is that happening? Let's quickly go have a look at the DLP profile, right? So we have logs. So that attempt is not blocked by the web filter, but it's blocked by the DLP. So 1122, that's the one that I just tried. You can see my upload attempt has been blocked. Now it says the sensor is ChatGPT. That's because we named the sensor ChatGPT to help you showcase this. So what about the applications? Something like ChatGPT, right? So let's say, so that's my ChatGPT. Seems to be working, no problem. Just trying to do some demos. There you go. I typed the words programming tips. While everything else is working, it ended up blocking the programming tips. So this is just a very basic example of how you can restrict users from accessing websites you don't want, any malicious websites. So again, and then in this case, we are looking at stopping any data from leaking out outside, right? And all these AI models, the large language models, are becoming a bit of a problem to keeping your data secure. So this is how far we can go. Like dive deep into an application while the rest of it keeps working. We can be very granular and let everything we block only the things that we want to block. Right. How are we doing for time, Ben?
Yeah, so far so good, Pando. I think about 5 minutes left in the scheduled time, and plus Q&A after.
Brilliant. Okay, what was the other thing I want? Oh, okay, yeah. So let's quickly have a look at the RDP. So this is connecting into, this is the secure private access section, secure private access use case, where we are trying, now we've tried to access SaaS applications, we've tried to access web, everything seems fine, getting, giving the security as it's been configured. Now we are trying to access a resource behind a corporate firewall. So now this, I'm just doing an RDP session into one of the endpoints in the environment. There's nothing in there. I'm just having the RDP session configured just to show you that I can access it. Now, let's see how the continuous posture assessment works, right? So now you can see I've got the zero trust tag compliant under me. So what that means is, as long as I'm compliant, I can access these resources. As we saw earlier, the rules to have the compliant tag applied to you is you must have the local firewall and the antivirus up and running. So let's go and disable the real-time protection. Right. Now, I've disabled the real-time protection. We'll give it a couple of seconds to sync with the EMS server. That should remove the compliant tag, and it should give me a tag that's called at risk. Takes a couple of seconds for the entire infrastructure to sync. At risk. See, the tag got removed, and then my since it's at risk, it terminated my connection to the RDP session. Right, so this is continuous posture assessment. That's how we are enabling zero trust network access into your environment. Right. So now I've turned it back on. It'll take a couple of seconds, and then it'll bring back the compliant. There you go. The compliant tag is back on. So you can be very, very creative with zero trust tags, right? So I mean, there are few now. Since I'm having my own rules in this environment, I've had to create a few zero trust tags so that my endpoints, I mean, I can do anything to my endpoints, and I can do the rules and regulations I want to apply to these endpoints without affecting anybody else. So I've created this one, Panduka endpoint, right? So how does that endpoint work? Or rather, how does that tag work? So that is basically, in order to receive that tag, I've said there has to be a file, a certain file inside a certain folder, and that will receive that tag. As long as that file is there inside that path, that tag will be applied. So that's how creative you can be, right? So rule type, antivirus, EMS manager, you can be very, very creative and very, very granular. And also it differs based on the endpoint the endpoint type, right? Whether it's Mac OS, Linux, iOS, whatever. So I think we are good for time. That's just a quick view of FortiSASE, what you can do with it. If you are interested in learning more about this, I can definitely do a longer demo that will go further in depth into all these activities and configurations. Ben, I'll hand it back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Panduka. And again, thank you for that really comprehensive deep dive into FortiSASE. That was excellent. Just a reminder, any questions, now would be a really good time to submit them before we wrap up the webinar, of course. But Panduka, certainly from what I'm seeing here, there's a lot of, well, I think to use your words, granular options here for customizations and trying to set up the platform in a way that would actually suit the end user and the end organization as well.
Correct. You can be very deep, very. You can basically lock it down pretty well. And the use of SASE is that you can have this level of control and visibility into any endpoint, whether your users are logging in from an airport Wi-Fi, whether they are logging in from home or in office or anywhere. So that's the beauty of SASE. We enable your business to function regardless of how the users, where the users are, how they log in. So, and also all this consistent security provided from one single platform. So yeah.
Fantastic. And just one other thing as well, we touched on earlier about the use of Microsoft bandwidth. I know that question has come up as well about how some Microsoft Teams bandwidth and also Office 365 applications bandwidth can be used in part of FortiSASE as well. Are you able to just confirm those details quickly as well for the audience?
Yeah, so again, let me go back to that slide deck. Right? When you log in as a user, there is no bandwidth limitation. Absolutely no bandwidth limitation. Only the data usage. So 250 gigabytes per user. So the minimum SASE license we have is for 50 users, right? So that puts it at how many? 125 terabytes. So that's quite a lot of data usage for the entire SASE instance, right? And also, whenever you keep adding any other things like a thin edge device, it'll add another 500 gigs. So that is not restricted per thin edge or per user. So there's this one big bucket, So there's no limitation as to a single user using only 250 gig. No, that license adds 250, and they can use as many as they want from within that bucket. So the only time the bandwidth restriction is applied is if you are coming in from the branch on ramp, because that's a IPsec tunnel. And apart from the data usage, this is the only time where you have a 1 gig of max throughput. So for a user, there's nothing. They can use any application they want. From the branch on ramp is where you have to be careful.
Got it. No, thanks so much for confirming that once again, Panduka. That's excellent.
Sure.
So just to wrap this up quickly, if there's any additional questions after this webinar, then please, by all means, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to liaise directly for Panduka and the Fortinet team to answer any inquiries that you have. But Panduka, once again, thank you so much for your time today. And for everyone watching, please stay tuned. We're hoping to squeeze in maybe a few more webinars before this year comes to a close. But in the meantime, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for coming along on the Fortinet SASE month, as we called it, and attending these webinars today. And we look forward to keeping in touch with you. Panduka, thanks once again for your time, and have a great day, everyone.
You too. Thank you, everyone. Take care.